Hi, my name is Monica Sargent. I work as an educational counselor at Vermont Student Assistance Corporation in the Educational Opportunity Center program. We have 7 counselors who work around the state providing services to Vermonters, and typically we're working with an out-of-school population, which is anyone who's already graduated or maybe be working on their high school credential. But occasionally in all parts of the state, there are some students that aren't served by VSAC's Talent Search or Gear Up program who are high school seniors and may find their way to our services for help with financial aid. I'm here today to talk about funding for certificate or technical training programs and what VSAC offers to support individuals who are looking to do that kind of work. So certificate programs are often offered through a college, but sometimes through other entities that are here in the state. And technical training programs, they too may be offered by a college or school, or also by possibly one of our technical centers around the state of Vermont. So for adults who are looking at certificate programs, one thing to pay attention to is how the institution where that certificate program is offered, how that institution considers that program. For example, some certificate programs may be almost like equivalent to a full year of college in terms of the number of credits, and that's usually somewhere around 27 to 30 credits. And even though they are certificate programs, those programs at a college may be considered a degree program, and students enroll as degree students in order to access those programs. In that case, the funding that's available is very similar to what would be available for a student who's pursuing an associate or a baccalaureate program at a college or university, meaning that that student can fill out the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, or they could fill out the Vermont degree grant application. In other settings where a certificate is offered, it may be of fewer credits, and in that case, the person who's interested in that certificate may be looking at the advancement grant, previously called the non-degree grant here at VSAC, to cover the cost of that program. And that works a little bit differently. Students, when they apply for an advancement grant, they actually have to specify the class, the name of the course that they're looking to take, or the name of the program that might be offering them a certificate. And in that case, they would be looking more at funding by individual courses that comprise the certificate and could potentially receive funding for up to 2 classes in a term, and there are 4 terms in the advancement degree grant year, or non-degree grant, year. And that would be different than, and requires more specific information than when you apply as a degree student. Sometimes when people are using the advancement grant to pay for a certificate or technical training, the VSAC funds could be used in combination with money from another source. Some people get funding through the Vermont Department of Labor, where they have funds to help support people who are pursuing that certificate that will hopefully lead them to return to work. And the program that we often work with at the Department of Labor is called WIOA, or the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And individuals could be using funding from both VSAC and Department of Labor to meet the costs of some of those training programs. That would include programs for adults at the technical center. All the technical centers In addition to having evening classes in some locations, and that would certainly be a place where someone could use the advancement grant, they also have daytime programs, and adults are given placement in those programs, typically on a space available basis after the programs have been filled by eligible high school students or adults who lack a high school credential. The programs are free for those individuals, but for an adult who has a high school credential, there's generally cost involved, and again, that's where the advancement grant might come into play. Another program that comes to mind that is of interest to many people is cosmetology, barbering, or esthetician programs. Those programs also offer people who complete them certificates, but the program that's available in Chittenden County through the O'Brien's Aveda Institute, for example, all three of those programs are eligible for aid for students as a degree, the same as a degree student. And that means, again, those students are filling out the free application for federal student aid, and they're completing the Vermont degree grant application, not the programs for non-degree or continuing education students. Another program of interest in our area it provides welding certification. There are welding programs at the high schools, at the tech centers located at the high schools, but there's also a private program locally called the Advanced Welding Institute, and students who elect to do their full 6-month program also complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, along with the Vermont grant application. VSAC counselors have access to some scholarship money for people who are pursuing certificate and training programs and are using the advancement grant. And that's an important resource that can help to supplement what the advancement grant provides for payment for a particular program. That can be used in combination with a scholarship once someone's been approved for the grant. And that's a relatively new opportunity through working with counselors in the Educational Opportunity Center program where I work. Those are called the Certificate of Value Curtis Training Scholarships, and right now the amount of those scholarships is somewhere between $500 as a minimum up to $1,500 as a maximum. But when the money that's available through the advancement grant is insufficient to cover a particular training activity, that scholarship can make the difference, particularly if WIOA, that I mentioned through the Vermont Department of Labor, is not an option. So again, we as counselors in the Educational Opportunity Center program are able to help individuals decide on a certificate or technical training program. Many times these can be done because they're very part-time while someone still maintains their employment, and that may be a way to make that feasible for an individual because they're not having to curtail work in order to participate in a training program. There's one other program that is also available here in Chittenden County and sometimes in other locations in Vermont through Vermont High Tech. And that program is quite unique in the advancement grant world in that because the people who are selected for those training programs do not incur any cost for the training is supported by usually an employer that's involved with sponsoring the training. However, they are full-time, very demanding, not only for the full-time daytime commitment, but for work that students are expected to complete on their own in the evenings. And so for people who are eligible, they can receive a stipend to help with their costs of living while they're pursuing those those training programs. And for certificate programs that are eligible for assistance for degree students, there are sometimes adequate funds available to also help with cost of living expenses, in addition to meeting the costs of tuition and fees that those programs charge. And that would typically be through the federal direct loans that students can borrow to help with those expenses. So I would invite people who are interested in learning more about certificate and technical training programs to make an appointment with a counselor through VSAC. Here in Chittenden County, they just need to call 802-654-3793 to make an appointment. And in the Northeast Kingdom, people can call 877-961-4369. And generally, when you call, you will be able to meet with a counselor within a week of your phone call, and we'll do our best to accommodate your own needs to meet at a particular time as our schedule permits. So thank you. I hope you'll make use of our services.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Danielle Kane, and I'm the Regional Manager for the Vermont Department of Labor Northwest District, which means that I cover Chittenden, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. And I am here this afternoon to talk to you about state and federal training dollars that Vermont receives in order to help individuals train and retrain in order to enter the labor market. So today I want to talk about WIOA, which stands for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And what that means is the state of Vermont receives federal funds that we are able to use to help individuals who have never held employment before, or have lost their job due to no fault of their own, or are looking to enter training, have access to do so. And we do that through our local career resource center. Individuals have the ability to come in for an orientation, which is generally every Tuesday from 1:30 to 2:30. At that time, you are given information on what WIOA is, what the commitment to it would be, and how to apply for it. So the first thing to know is that in order to be accepted into the program, you have to have a few documents that are mandatory per the U.S. Department of Labor. We're looking for birth certificates, social security cards, and photo IDs primarily. If you are over the age of 18, you need to be registered with the Selective Service. Once you have that information and you attend an orientation, you have the ability to meet with a case manager who's going to do a plethora of things to make sure that we are working with you to find your path to a career. In some instances, you have never had employment before and you're looking to explore your first job, and you have nothing to add to a resume. So we're going to work to try and develop a site that would be able and available to basically have you as an intern, and you would work with your case manager to develop that site, and then you would be covered under the Vermont Department of Labor's workers' compensation policy, and you would be paid a minimum wage for a short period of time that would allow you to train and learn the skills that you would need in order to be an entry-level individual at a position. That is utilized by both our adult and youth WIOA program. We primarily use that approach with the youth program, but we can certainly do that with adults who have been out of the labor market for a considerable amount of time, especially if you are a stay-at-home mom or someone who just is recovering from a workers' comp injury or something else in those lines and just need to get back into the labor force. We look to assist individuals with what we like to refer to as OJTs, which is on-the-job training. That's another avenue that we have available through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And what that does is that allows you to work for an employer. You're covered under their workers' compensation policy. You're paid an hourly wage through them. And we would negotiate a starting wage with that employer to bring you up to snuff so that you have the skills that you would need in order to be an entry-level employee. That is a short term, approximately around 6 months that training takes place, but it does allow you to have a position with an employer. And in some cases, it's an audition for a position or the ability to display to an employer what your skills are and help them develop those skills to what they're looking for and how they would like to see you complete the work then and the task that they have there. The other way that we can help individuals with the WIOA program is through training. And that is primarily utilized if you're someone who has lost your job due to no fault of your own and you're seeking to go back into the labor market. So for example, if you have worked at a company for the last 15 years and you're trained on a particular form of software, and then for some reason that software is not the most up-to-date and most current in the market, we would work with you to see how would we make you competitive in the labor market again. So you would meet with a case manager, we would take a look at your skills, we would create a career path, and then from there we would look at what the options are in the community that would allow you to work on those skills and bring yourself up to an entry level or even beyond that, so that you can be competitive and apply for jobs again, or in some cases for the first time. So we have 3 options that we look to utilize. We offer, with the one-on-one counseling, and when you're entering the WIOA program, we're looking to see what your career path is and what that labor market looks like. So what we'll do is, following that orientation, following that one-on-one where we just kind of introduce ourselves and get an idea of what you're looking for, we also complete some assessments here at the office. And what that means is that we're looking to make sure that we're getting individuals or connecting with individuals or creating a career path that is consistent with the skills that you have. So we have a lot of assessments, ONET being one of them, if you've ever heard of that we utilize, that will ask you what skills you possess, what things you like to do, what your abilities are, what you definitely don't like to do. And then at the end, we get an idea of what direction we should go into. Those assessments generally will give us an idea of different jobs that exist. We've done this for years with individuals who are in school, starting in the middle schools, just to kind of see what do you like, where do you want to go, is that even feasible to do here in the state of Vermont, or are you looking to relocate out of state and is it feasible there? So we'll do those assessments, we gather that information, and then what we look to do is, our next step is to see if that information or if that job is available in the state or the area in which you look to live. So a perfect example is we have individuals who will come in and they say that they want to do underwater welding and that they're looking to live in the Northeast Kingdom. So unfortunately, underwater welding is a wonderful career, but doing it in the Northeast Kingdom is not something that's going to be feasible. So we'll say if you're interested in underwater welding, one of the things that you could do is relocate to the coast, possibly join the military, or attend a welding school in which one of the things that they focus on is that aspect of welding, or in some cases even look at doing some entry-level welding here through one of the tech centers or even one of the welding schools that's local, and then exploring further what you want to do. We would also look to see with an individual where they're at, what is an entry-level point into that career. So an example of that would be an individual who is looking to become an LNA or an LPN. In order to do that, obviously you would need some additional training, but how would we approach that with someone who has no desire to necessarily do the 4 years of college? We would work with you to see what that career path looks like. So for example, one of the things that you could do to enter that field is become a PCA, which is a personal care attendant. And that is someone who works with a local agency and provides services to individuals, whether it be helping them clean their house, helping them go to appointments, helping them pick up medication, just running different errands and going to doctor's appointments and things like that. providing some services, but nothing that's too intensive. From there, if you decide that you really like that career, the next thing that you could do is you could explore becoming an LNA, which is a licensed nurse assistant. So for the PCA, you would need some entry-level training, but then if you move on to the LNA, it's where you actually need some official training with a licensure that's issued through the Secretary of State and through the Board of Nursing. So what we would do is we would try to connect and find what areas are offering that training in the local area, and then how does that happen. What we can offer through the WIOA program is possible support in paying for any tuitions that exist for those trainings. So if you come in, you do the application, we determine that you're eligible, we start working on this career path, we put a plan together, and then we're going to figure out how and what is the next step, but how are we going to pay for it? Whether it's utilizing VSAC resources, whether it is using strictly WIOA resources, and whether or not you yourself have the ability to contribute to any particular training route that we're looking for. From there, if you really like the LNA and it's a career that you're passionate about and you want to move forward, you could become an LPN or you could become an RN. And again, we would look at how to make that happen. Is there a school that you can attend? Is there training that will just help you get to the next step? Or is there on-the-job training? Are you able to work with an employer, and will they pay for some of the costs for you to get to that next level? So it's really an intensive service that's provided, in which you really work with someone individual to develop that one-on-one program, and then to utilize those state funds and resources that are available to you. So following that career path and putting it all together, you would present a plan for approval, and then we would look to make that connection and make the contacts with who we would need to contact. And then from that point on, hopefully we'll be able to get you enrolled in that training, and you would be able to attend, get the skills that you need. And as an end result, once the training is done, you would continue to work with your case manager to update your resume, to practice interviewing skills, to conduct job searches, and to hopefully, as the end result, be able to obtain employment in the local community in which you can sustain a lifestyle that you are looking for. So if you're interested in learning more about the WIOA program and the support services that we can provide here at the Vermont Department of Labor, you feel free to call our local office at 863-7676 and sign up for that WIOA orientation, which again is every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. at the Burlington office. And if you're in the St. Albans area, you can call 524-6585, and we tend to do that more on a one-on-one there, or depending on the need, there could be an orientation. You just want to let them know that you're looking for WIOA support, and then they will sign you up for those orientations. There is a limit to the number of people that we tend to have in those orientations, so we do ask that you call and reserve a space. If you're someone who is looking to create a resume, or if you're looking for tips on interviewing, you can certainly call our office as well and schedule a time to either attend one of our local workshops that we offer on resume and interviewing, as well as schedule a one-on-one time to meet with a staff person and kind of go over the different information that we have about resume writing and interviewing, as well as have someone take a look at your resume and provide you some feedback based on the information that we receive from employers as they come into our office and give us feedback when we're having conversations about the jobs that they have open and the type of individuals that they're looking to fill those jobs. Again, you can give us a call at 863-7676, and we would be happy to assist you in any way that we can.